Today, we're talking about something pretty fundamental. This idea that the digital world you live in isn't just a window showing you reality. It's more like a distorted mirror, one that's actively changing what you see.
So let me just ask you something straight up. How sure are you, really, that you can tell what's real from what's not when you're scrolling? You probably think, oh, I can spot a fake, I can see an AI image from a mile away.
But what if I told you the evidence suggests that, deep down, we're all subconsciously pretty bad at it? That we're absorbing this warped version of the world and we don't even know it's happening?
And that creates this gap, a digital perception gap, if you will. It's this growing chasm between what we see on our screens and what's actually true out there in the real world.
And this isn't just some abstract idea, okay? It has very real consequences. Look at politics. People consistently think the other side is way more extreme than they actually are. Why? Well, because the algorithms that run our feeds, they thrive on controversy. They push the loudest, most outrageous voices to the top to keep us hooked. So what happens? We start thinking that fringe opinion is actually the mainstream view. We're confusing the algorithm's reality with actual reality.
So what's actually driving all this distortion? What's the engine behind the scenes? It boils down to one incredibly powerful mechanism: the AI feedback loop. And this really gets to the core of it. You probably think you're talking to ChatGPT in English, right? But you're not really. An AI doesn't speak English. It speaks a statistical approximation of English, a version that's been shaped and frankly warped by all the data it was trained on.
The mechanism behind this is something called a positive feedback loop. It's a pretty simple idea, but it has massive consequences. Basically, it's a cycle. The output of a system, say the way an AI talks, gets fed back into that same system as new input, and that just amplifies the original effect over and over and over again.
Okay, let's make this real. Have you ever noticed how ChatGPT just loves the word delve? It uses it way more than any normal person would. But here's the crazy part. Studies are now showing that since ChatGPT came out, we, real people, are using the word delve more often. We're picking up the AI's weird little quirk without even thinking about it. And guess what? Our conversations, now sprinkled with delve, become the new training data for the next AI. The loop just gets tighter.
So, okay, it's not just about one weird word. This same feedback loop is now the engine behind how cultural trends are literally manufactured on a global scale.
Think about how trends used to happen, right? They were organic, they grew from the ground up. But now, an algorithm can spot a tiny flicker of interest, a latent desire in a small group of people, and then, boom, it can amplify it, basically force-feeding it to millions and create a trend out of thin air. It's getting harder and harder to tell what's genuinely popular versus what's just been artificially blown up.
Hyperpop is the perfect case study. I mean, the sound kind of existed, but it wasn't really a thing. Then Spotify's algorithm noticed that a small group of people were listening to this same weird music, so in 2019, they just went ahead and created the Hyperpop playlist. They gave it a name, they gave it a home, and suddenly it was real. So what happened next? Artists started making music specifically to be hyperpop, and Spotify just kept pushing it further. The algorithm didn't just find a trend, it basically created it.
And you see this with everything that goes viral. Matcha, those little Labubu toys, that crazy Dubai chocolate bar, you name it. The algorithm sees a spark of interest, blows it up, influencers pile on, and bam, it's a massive trend. But you have to ask, is it real? Or is it just a reflection of what the algorithm thinks we want to see?
So that brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why is all this happening? And the answer isn't some complex conspiracy theory. It's actually way, way simpler.
Let's just be really blunt about it. These platforms, they're not here to be a perfect mirror of the world. Their goal, their one and only primary goal, is to make money. Period. Full stop.
Because these manufactured trends, they're really easy to turn into cash. It benefits Spotify to have you hooked on hyperpop. It benefits TikTok to have you obsessed with Labubu toys. Your eyeballs, your engagement, that's the product they're selling. The fact that it distorts reality, that's just a side effect of the business model.
And this is where things get really serious. Because this whole mechanism, it's not just about what words we use or what products we buy. It can actually start to shape our entire worldview.
So, for example, there's evidence suggesting that when you talk to ChatGPT in Farsi, its answers are more conservative. Now, why would that be? Because its training data is pretty limited, and it's pulling from a digital world that reflects the political climate in Iran. The AI isn't neutral, it's just reflecting and reinforcing the biases it was fed.
And that leads to a pretty chilling question, doesn't it? As more and more people in Iran use a tool like this, will they start to subconsciously think in more conservative ways? Just because that's the version of reality the AI keeps showing them?
And it's not always so conscious either. It's been widely reported that Elon Musk will personally make changes to his AI, Grok, when he doesn't like what it says. Then he uses his platform X to artificially boost his own posts. This isn't just about biased data anymore. This is about someone directly and intentionally shaping what an AI says.
So we have to ask the ultimate question here. Are millions of people using these tools being subconsciously trained to think like one single person? The feedback loop isn't just making trends anymore. It could be shaping thought itself.
Okay, I know this all sounds kind of heavy, maybe even a little bleak, but you're not powerless here. You can push back against this distortion. And the solution, the antidote, is actually incredibly simple. It all comes down to one word.
That word is why. You just have to get into the habit of asking yourself, why am I seeing this? Why did I just say that? Why is this idea in my head right now? And maybe the most important one, why is the platform showing me this? That little bit of critical thinking is enough to break that subconscious cycle. Because you have to understand, the stakes here are really, really high. If you don't actively ask these questions, their version of reality, the one that makes the money, the one that's full of biases, the one that's all twisted, well, that version is going to become your version.
All right, that's what we've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, stay real.